Anyone who's watching this video who wants to go to film school, I'm gonna save you a lot of money. I'm gonna give you
thousands of
Uncle
dollars.
Mickey's filmmaking guidebook. Number one.
I didn't know he was going to do this. He's revealing our secrets.
Thousands of dollars worth of secrets here.
Yeah.
Number one, comedy is in the Y. Number two, drama is in the orange.
You make it orange.
You made orange. It's
Think about a
dramatic.
dramatic movie like Lady Bird.
Horror is in the green.
Horror is in the green.
Yeah.
Why do you talk like that?
The truth is in the fiction, and the lie is in the documentary.
Brian's
Uncle Mickey
just
tip.
going to start dropping bars soon.
The Uncle Mickey tip that's relevant to this video is art is in the narrow.
Yes.
You make an artistic
that
film.
is true.
The Lighthouse.
The Lighthouse.
Artistic movie.
Artistic film.
I knew it was
It-
artistic because it was narrow.
It's really great because I have a small brain, and it really helps me like understand that what I'm watching is supposed to be artistic.
And Joss Whedon's Justice League is in the Y.
Yeah.
Comedy. It was more comedic.
The Thing is a comedy.
No, because The Thing is in the snow.
That's true. That is shot in the snow, not in the
Oh, if you want to know the snow, you got to pay $500. We'll let you know what the snow represents.
I'll let you know what the snow means.
Uncle
But
Mickey's
no one
Masterclass on filmmaking
But
coming
Justice
soon
League-
to our Patreon.
Just
Just our
for jokes' sake.
$500 tier. You have to pay $500.
Patreon. It's the only tier. If you want to be a Patreon, you have to spend $500.
Spend $500 a month.
You can give us less, but it will get you nothing.
Zack Snyder's Justice League is art because it's narrow.
You put Aquaman in the narrow, he's no longer a stupid superhero. He's artistic.
That's true. That is true.
We combined spent 16 hours watching Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Why did you have to break my brain?
I had a dream. Almost like a premonition. I think there's an attack coming.
My lord, this world will fall.
Find out what that reason is.
They said the age of heroes would never come again.
It will. It has to.
I want to get something out of the way because we've already reviewed this film. I kind of feel like the villain in Ratatouille because like there's that scene where he learns that the restaurant is open again. He's like, I reviewed that restaurant already. The last thing I said about it was that it was garbage and it should not be open anymore. That's kind of how I feel right now because it's like we already closed the book. We already said what we needed to say about that movie.
But the critic in
References to
Ratatouille
Ratatouille.
is the hero because he's right. That food was made by a rat.
Yes, no, I rewatched that movie recently, and I was they're making this guy seem like a villain, and it's like, oh, he's a food critic with integrity and passion, like. But like the real villain of that story was the old chef of the restaurant.
I was very excited because everyone was very excited for this movie.
Yeah.
And they were excited because they thought that he saved cinema. They already decided that they loved it. And I had already decided that they were all wrong. Because I saw that movie and I knew, like, I was like, unless because they did say a bunch of stuff, like they spent $70 million on reshoots or something like that.
On like special effects packages and stuff.
Yeah, special
like that.
effects. I think it was like an overall like 75 or 70 million like post-production budget.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, and it was 4 hours, which got me even more pumped because like, how did he do that? Why do people think this would be better? It's 4 hours long.
Having like PTSD right now.
It is 4 hours long, and people are like, oh, that's how it should be. That's how good movies are. They're 4 hours long.
Yes.
And all the hype behind it was just getting me more excited to watch it and be like, yep, this is just the same movie, but longer.
Brian, what did you think going into Zack Snyder's Justice League?
I didn't really think about it at all. For like people talked about like release the Snyder Cut. Zack Snyder was like,
it was a big deal for like years.
Yeah, Zack Snyder was like, oh, my movie would have been way better, and I was like, you made 2 movies before this, and they were both terrible.
2? And how?
No, I mean in this universe.
Okay.
I mean, 2,
And the internet somehow forgot and was like, yeah, you would have
We'll
made
get
it
into
better.
that. We'll get into that. I was like, why would it be better? and he was like, it would be better, and people just believed him.
Yeah.
Even though he's made 2 good movies.
Well, he kind of stoked the flame a little bit, like, because a lot of people really hated the Joss Whedon cut, which we did too. Yeah, like that movie sucked ass.
I would say,
and there was this mystery about it because it's like, what did he? Because it's obvious when you watch that film that it was cut around.
It was so bad that when you watched it, you're like, oh, this looks like a botched job. Like it looks like someone came in and then made it different.
And so it immediately builds this mystery around it of like, what did?
Which I bought into too. I was like, well, yeah, they clearly because you could tell just by it doesn't even look or feel like a Zack Snyder movie.
Oh, no. They tried their hardest to make it not be like that.
I am interested to see what terrible movie Zack Snyder made. As opposed to the terrible movie that released.
Going into it, we're like, movies don't get a do-over. This potentially, the potential behind this is like they can fix every single mistake they feel like they made before.
Yes.
They technically have a complete restart, and everyone is giving them a chance.
Like if Game of Thrones Season 8 got a George R.R. Martin cut.
I was like, okay, well, I hated the first Justice League, and I remember one of the only good things I said about it was that it was only 2 hours. And then, I'll say this. I thought it was going to be terrible, but I saw that it was only 2 hours long.
I was like, this will be the best terrible one.
So,
it's only 2 hours long.
At the very least, it's not like Batman vs. Superman, where it challenges your ability to watch it. And then Zack Snyder was like, anyway, about that, my movie is 4 hours, and that's actually going to be one of the primary selling points of this movie, is that the movie is twice as long. And I said, no, please don't make that. So I was pretty not excited for it at all. I know you guys were excited for it, but once he said it was 4 hours long.
You were excited for it. You kept being like, dude, can't wait this Friday. It's Zack Snyder's.
In the last week, I was excited.
In the last week, you were hyped.
I wasn't that excited.
You sound pretty excited. Kevin, what did you think?
Kevin, going into it.
Like everyone, you can cut back to whatever my reaction was in the Justice League video, but I hated it. And I wanted to leave the theater too. And honestly, it was a 2-hour film that felt 4 hours long at the time. So as
now
much
it's
as
a 4-hour film that feels
it feels about 4 hours long. It feels about the same. I was interested in another version just because from a filmmaking / editing standpoint, I just think it's interesting when something gets upheaved and changed.
Hold on, Kevin.
Oh, thank you. On an intellectual level, like I really wanted to know what was different, and like oh, you're like seeing a different edit of something always kind of recontextualizes things, and so I was like, I'm at least excited for that, and so I've honestly never loved a single Zack Snyder movie. I've liked a couple of them, and I've been fine with a chunk of them, and then I've hated the rest. And so
which is why you thought his auteurness would come through, and he'd make a better version of Justice League, and it will say cinema.
And so I was like, honestly, it would be hard to be worse, but I'm just interested to see how it turns out, regardless of what it was.
I went into it thinking this is going to be painful. People were talking about this for years, and every time people would bring up, "Oh, release the Snyder Cut," my reaction was, don't, please. Ever since Zack Snyder, DC has been doing everything they can to try to distance themselves from his
vision.
His vision. What he was doing with the franchise, and I don't blame them. Like, it's not fun.
It's like overly dramatic.
Yeah, it takes itself way too seriously, unnecessarily. Like, it's not like the subject matter. I was thinking about this while I was watching the movie. They treat defeating a CG monster like Sicario. Like there's like bodies in the walls or whatever.
It is the same plot as the first movie.
Yeah, they don't.
I thought they were going to change there was one piece of it I thought they were going to change a lot, because originally when we first reviewed it, it was like, oh, clearly they like Superman was supposed to be bad for a longer time. This was like a bigger part of the movie.
And I talked about that a lot.
Yeah, like that. It seemed like that was totally on point.
Is that they cut out Superman being a villain?
But no, the plot is the same.
But before we go into this, I do want to touch up on the aspect ratio, because it is kind of a controversial thing. So
it's totally stupid.
How dare you? It's art. It's art. Art isn't narrow. The fact that it's narrow means it's artistic. Zack Snyder made it in the narrow, and articles popped up here. Why is the aspect ratio like that? It's because Zack Snyder wanted it to be art, so he just made it narrow.
So the camera he shot on, most Arri cameras, shot on our Arri Alexa, shoot in that aspect ratio natively. So like that is just how the camera shot. So I understood what, like, when I looked it up, because I was curious, and he said, oh, when we shoot IMAX, I like how the aspect ratio is taller, because when you go to an IMAX screen, the biggest difference is that it's taller. For, like, Blade Runner 2049, for instance, that movie is shot, it's widescreen or whatever. For the IMAX screenings, they just didn't crop it at all, and it was that aspect ratio when you went and saw it in IMAX. They didn't use an IMAX camera, they just showed it in its original aspect ratio. So I kind of get it, because as someone that I shoot most of our stuff, I've also been like, part of me feels bad when I crop stuff, because it's like we're losing information. So I kind of get it. They're shooting on a big format camera. It's the Arri LF, or it's the Arri 65. So I get the like why he wanted to do it, because you see it, like, what you're missing when you crop all that stuff out.
But you're watching it on home screens.
But that's that's my next point, is like, I would get that if this was a theatrical release and you could go see it in IMAX. That would make sense to me. But they're releasing this on HBO Max, which I watched it on my computer monitor, which is 27 inches. And so it's like, it just feels like it's taking up less of the screen. And, I've seen a lot of people say that it feels more epic, because it's in 4x4
more artistic, guys.
It's more artistic, guys, please. First cow is narrow.
And so,
not epic.
But to me, it felt smaller. Like, the entire movie just felt smaller, because it's physically taking up less of the screen.
Which, the whole art is in the narrow thing aside, whenever I watch a movie that's narrow, I'm not going to call it whatever aspect. Whenever it's narrow.
You say narrow, yeah.
It's narrow, dude.
It's usually, whenever I've seen a movie that's narrow, usually when I watch a movie that's in the narrow, especially now, it's because it's character focus. And it's narrow because all you're really paying attention to are the characters.
And you would say that's what...
And you could fit, like, you only need, like, if it's character focused and it's mostly about, like, one or two characters per scene having moments together, you don't need this big wide shot. It's just focusing on them, and it's so everything is pointed at these people. Usually, like the Charlie Kaufman movie, First Cow, The Lighthouse, it's just about these...
And you're literally like pushing the eyes
pushing it
in. Like you're looking, you cannot look at anything.
Justice League is an action movie with Aquaman in it. You spend all this time literally jumping from character to character to character to character. You have no time to actually focus in on a single character, so the aspect ratio doesn't make sense in that.
To play devil's advocate, there are like one or two scenes.
The movie's 4 hours long.
I know. But no, there are one or two scenes where it is clear that is what Zack Snyder was trying to do. To give him credit where credit's due.
But that's not enough to frame the whole movie like that.
No.
So our opinion of the aspect ratio is we get it, it's stupid.
What this movie has that the first Justice League will never have is that it clearly has a concise tone. And it's not, like, the tone from the get-go, you're like, oh, this is how it's supposed to be. It doesn't feel like another movie and then they put jokes into and made the tone all messed up. I'm sorry, dude. That's like the worst drink you've ever had.
This would have been more tasty if it was just filled with vodka.
Yes.
Or urine.
The start of it kind of got me a little excited because I was like, the tone's right. There's not a bunch of stupid jokes when he goes and meets Aquaman. It's like this like actual dire situation. He's like, hey, a bunch of crazy stuff's going to happen and Superman's dead, the guy that was going to solve all our problems, so I got to get Aquaman and all these other people. It kind of felt more important going in.
Yeah.
And then it kept going. And I've seen a lot of long movies, and 4 hours is really long. And everyone's like, you just don't have a good enough attention span. And what happened in the movie was I was watching it, and they had a bunch of scenes.
Wait, can I pause you for a second?
Sure.
Just to boost Sam Slade's credentials. Sam Slade likes a bunch of boring bullshit that, like, even the rest of us are like, Sam Slade, that's too boring. He liked First Man.
Yeah,
Sam Slade can sit through a lot of boring bullshit. Continue. I just wanted to.
Oh yeah, like Assassination of Jesse James for like Calvary Ford. That's a 2.5 hour long movie.
We all love that movie.
Yeah. But like it's boring. Most people watch it and they go, oh, nothing happened in that movie. Yeah. It's like that's awesome. Yeah, nothing happened in the movie.
Magnolia.
There was already an action sequence or two, but then there was the scene where Wonder Woman's friends are on the island and they're like, hey, we gotta make sure Wonder Woman knows there's like bad stuff happening. So they have a whole ceremonial scene where they shoot an arrow to a place where the scene.
They haven't invented text messaging yet.
Yeah, no, literally while it was happening, I was like, they could have just had a scene where they sent an email to her, right? Like, this is so stupid. Like, and it was
go up to a stone
that was the breaking point.
his...
I don't know what point in the movie it is, but like that was the breaking point for me, where I was like, this is so unnecessary. It's the only thing that I can think of, like, direct comparison between the Joss Whedon one and this one, where it's like, oh yeah, Joss Whedon saw that and was like, why the heck would we spend all this? Oh, this scene is so that all of her friends can tell her that a bad thing is happening. She's gonna figure it out already.
Also, Batman's gonna tell her.
Yes.
That's why he's in the movie.
Dude, they cut out
I just thought about that, where it's like they have this whole scene of her shooting an arrow, and Batman was like, I already told her something bad was gonna happen. I already told her.
Well, no, dude.
now
She believes it.
Now she knows it's stuff.
She didn't believe Batman? How about when she watched Superman die fighting with Batman?
She didn't believe it yet.
But yeah, pretty much from that point on, I was like, I don't think this will recover for me. All the added scenes are just a bunch of side nonsense.
It's junk.
Like, most of it is junk. Like, there's some stuff where
wow,
it's
you
like,
guys hate character progression?
Like, there's some stuff where it's like, okay, well,
if it's Cyborg's dad, yeah.
They gave Cyborg and Cyborg's dad a lot of, like, character building. It's like, cool, Cyborg was nothing, and now he's a bad character with more storyline. So that's kind of cool. Like, I can see why people are like, oh, it's such a better movie, because now we know Cyborg is this and that.
So here's the problem with the Zack Snyder in general. All of his characters are boring, gloomy assholes. I mean, all of them.
Even Aquaman, who
is so much fun. Like, Jason Momoa is such a charismatic guy. And you see him in Aquaman, and he even in the scenes in this movie, you know, like he when he talks to other people, you're just like, oh wow, that guy seems like he could talk to you about fucking anything.
But he's so dour in that movie.
Yes.
He's like, but there's several points where he's just like calling everyone like naive and stuff. And he's like,
the fact that I'm complaining about the characters being too dour is not me saying I preferred Joss Whedon's version.
No,
it is just that I can understand. When I finished the movie, I immediately like started texting Kevin, and my first thought was, I don't like the 2017 cut more, but I understand the problems that Joss Whedon was trying to fix.
Yes.
Because all of the characters are just abysmal to be around, and you can add more development to those characters, like they do with Cyclops.
His solution
and his dad.
was stupid, which was just make them all goofy. Cyclops. Cyclops got beams for eyes. He had an eye that looked like
has beams for eyes.
Yeah, but like he had an eye that looked like he could beam somebody. I'm sure did he beam someone in the movie, Kevin?
He has spider arms.
Somebody?
Yeah, did Cyborg beam someone with his eye? Like he had an eye?
No, he did not beam anybody with his eye.
Are you sure? I think he flew around and beamed somebody at some point.
No, I think he just shot it.
Agree with me.
Like what Sam said, we were sitting there, and the first like 2 or 3 scenes happened, and like I said, I was like, oh, I like the intro to this way better. It's not just Batman kills a bug and then
they cut out the best scene.
He goes, "Are those goddamn bugs gonna kill us, Batman?"
Yeah, no, that was legitimate because like at least the original cut,
Superman's dead.
The original cut had a few scenes that were so bad they were funny. That was one of them.
That scene is one of the most trash scenes in a modern movie. It is so terrible. It's like, how do we start the movie with the smallest scene with all the information we need to start the movie?
Yes, I genuinely missed that scene because it at least made me laugh.
So the opening of the movie, I was like, okay, this feels more big, more dramatic. Yeah. It feels like something dangerous is going to happen instead of just this bug.
They take the threat seriously.
I take it seriously. There's an air of mystery about it.
Yeah.
Because Batman's warning them about this thing, and you're like, well, I mean, what's it going to end up being?
Why is Batman worried?
Yeah. And then they got to the scene where Steppenwolf goes to Wonder Woman Island and steals the box and fights all those Wonder Women, and I was like, oh, this is the same movie.
Yeah, I saw this already.
And then he's just
they changed everything, dude. The entire place falls into the sea.
Right,
they changed
action
everything.
Scene is longer.
Remember when that girl you didn't know about or care about got killed by a horse, and we're like, she's jacked and she can throw horses around, no problem.
Oh yeah, this horse just crushes her, and I was like, why isn't this lady just lifting this horse off of her? She's like, no, you're dying. No, but the fact that that's one of the only action scenes in the movie, it has none of the Justice League in it. And it goes on for so long, and I was like, oh yeah, this movie's still terrible. One of the biggest flaws I have with it is the fact that it's twice as long, but we have the same amount of characterization for the characters I actually care about.
Except for Cyborg.
Cyborg has more characterization.
Wait, but he doesn't care about Cyborg. He's saying the characters we care about.
Yeah, the characters I care about. I want to learn more about Batman.
There's the same amount of characterization for Superman.
Yes.
Batman and Wonder Woman and Aquaman.
I would say there's even less for Superman, because Superman in this cut, he's mad when he gets revived from the dead, right?
The Superman stuff doesn't change, it's all the same.
But
they change a bit. They actually change quite a bit.
Did they?
Yeah, he has more amnesia, because in the original cut, Kevin, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think they had the moment where he goes to the ship and they have all the voiceover.
Well, that's another problem I have with it, because I was telling Sam Slade this when that scene happened. Like, he was walking through the ship, had all that voiceover, and then they have the exact same scene where he flies, but like in Man of Steel when he flies for the first time.
Oh yeah.
And they're mirroring that. And I watched that, and he flew off. And I looked at Sam Slade and I was like, that felt like this big victory lap for movies no one likes. People forget, no one liked Man of Steel. Like, they were like, let's have this moment where we relive that scene in Man of Steel. And it's like, that movie sucks balls. That's like if there was a whole scene dedicated in Endgame to recreating, shot for shot, a scene from fucking Ant-Man and the Wasp. And it's like, what the fuck? Nobody likes that movie.
Yeah, it's annoying that people watch it and they're like, we're saved. These movies were always awesome, and now they're more awesome.
Restore the Snyderverse.
That's another big problem I have with it, is the precedent it sets. Because another thing people forget is they didn't like Man of Steel, and they didn't like Batman vs. Superman. The movies they do like in the DC universe, the popular ones, were made specifically to be the opposite of those movies.
Yes.
Shazam,
yes.
Wonder Woman,
yes.
even Wonder Woman 2,
yeah.
Harley Quinn 2,
Aquaman,
Joker. All of these movies exist because DC was like, oh, everyone thinks Zack Snyder's movies suck balls, we'll make these ones. And everyone was like, these are really good. And then
Zack Snyder back.
And then Zack Snyder makes a bad movie again. He just
and everyone's back on board with it.
And it's like, no, the next movie he makes is going to be terrible, and it's just going to make everything go back. And then
he's going to make Flash the movie.
Listen, dude, after the next Zack Snyder movie, what we're going to get hate for this one. I know it. It's fine.
Yeah,
whatever.
We're the only ones that have this.
But in like 3 or 4 years, when Zack Snyder makes his next movie.
And it sucks.
You'll come back. You'll come back.
It just kept reminding me how short the internet's memory is. It's like, you don't like BVS. You don't like Man of Steel. You don't like those fucking movies.
Well, you can't deny that Batman's awesome, and he's in Batman v Superman.
That's true. He's not awesome in this movie.
And then Justice League is supposed to be like DC's Avengers, obviously.
Yeah.
I was worried with Thanos because they build him up so much.
Yeah.
And usually, like the Reapers in Mass Effect, you build this villain up so much, and then they just disappoint you.
Yeah.
First scene you see Thanos in, he kills Loki,
and he
beats up the Hulk.
Yes.
And he does both these things extremely easily. And then, at the end of Infinity War, he wins, and he beats the good guys. The first time you see Darkseid in this movie, characters you don't know anything about beat the shit out of him, throw him on his ship, and send him home. And you immediately, as an audience member, are like, oh, he can just lose. You don't see Thanos lose when they introduce him. When you see Darkseid, you see him lose, and you're like, oh, he can lose.
Yeah, he got beat by a bunch of people.
Yeah, he got beat by a bunch of people, and it's just, and then
like not Superman. Superman's just gonna punch him in the head.
The actual character that did that damaging blow to him is the character that Wonder Woman beats.
Yeah, she just
in Wonder Woman 1
by herself.
By herself. This movie.
We showed it side by side, and it's like, this is what it took to beat Thanos, and it showed those portals with millions of people all across the universe going to fight him. And he's like, this is what it took to beat Darkseid, and it's just 5 people just standing there.
If you're going for dumb CG villain thing,
it's happened a million times.
It's happened a million times. You can make that fun, even like you could do a script that's good with dumb CG villain. But Zack Snyder chooses.
In fact, they did Thor Ragnarok. They did with the Demon Surtur guy. they're like, oh, there's nothing really to his character, so we're just gonna kill him off at the beginning and then bring him back as a joke at the end, and it's gonna pay off.
They do that again in Guardians of the Galaxy, where they have this really generic villain, and then when he meets the Guardians of the Galaxy, they don't take him seriously at all.
Make fun of him.
And they're so complete polar opposites to him that he does not know how to respond to them because they're not treating him like a threat.
Yes.
And then they just beat the shit out of him with a laser.
But Zack Snyder's treating his again, like I'll bring up Sicario. Like he's treating his CG monster villain like the bad guy in Sicario, where it's like you're expected.
He's like, oh my god.
You're expected. You're expected to treat Steppenwolf like he is a real threat to these heroes, and you can make a villain with real stakes. But Superman exists.
Yeah.
And we said
That's the same problem with Aquaman.
We said,
in any of these movies.
We said this.
Superman exists.
We said
you
this.
Just punch him in the head.
Yeah, we said this with our first review of this movie. It's just like it makes the villain completely pointless because Superman can just punch him and he dies.
The ending of this movie is like,
are you telling me Superman is less powerful than a regular axe?
Fingers crossed, Superman shows up. Fingers crossed, we'll just fight him until Superman shows up, and if he does, we win. If we don't, we all die. One of the only things I liked in this movie was when Superman showed up, he swings his axe at Cyborg and he jumps in the way of it, but he doesn't do anything to block it. He just knows it's not going to kill him.
Yeah, he doesn't like put his arm up or do a blocking thing. He just stands.
He just gets in the way.
Yeah, my thoughts of this movie is it's the same movie except it's longer and grayer.
Kevin, what did you think of Zack Snyder's Justice League?
So I have a very unique position to everybody here. I actually... No, it's true. The day before I saw the Snyder Cut, I rewatched the Joss Whedon cut again.
He did.
Ugh.
I knew literally nobody else in this review would, so I was like, well, at least if I do, then like I can literally know every exact difference, what's better, what's worse, and actually compare like beat for beat. So there were things that were improved, and so when it started, I was like, oh, this is already a better beginning, like you guys had mentioned. And then, and like a lot of things were overall better, like Aquaman's intro, Wonder Woman's intro, like it felt stronger overall. Like
Flash's
even
intro.
though
Flash's intro actually has an intro.
Oh yeah, Zack Snyder also hates gay people because he put in 2 scenes where he was like, Flash is not a homosexual.
don't worry.
Don't worry.
You guys worry. Flash
he
is
wants
not
to
gay.
fuck women, guys. Don't worry. Flash is not gay.
There's more shots of the Amazonian women like kicking ass that I noticed were missing from the previous cut. Like in the other one, they're just like, oh, we fire arrows, and he's just like, useless, kill, and he just kills them all. And I'm like, there they are being useless at everything again.
Before that scene in the Joss Whedon cut feels like a Looney Tunes cartoon, and this one it just feels more like a Zack Snyder.
Yeah, and that was another thing. I did like how when Steppenwolf like swung his axe, like it actually like they showed more people dying on camera.
That is true. I agree with Kevin on that.
So I don't like either versions, but I would say it is an improvement technically.
In certain regards.
In certain regards, I think if it was a 2.5 hour long movie,
gun to your head, you had to watch one of the.
gun to my head, I have to watch.
You have to watch one of them.
I mean, the Joss Whedon one's shorter. I don't like it more, but the Joss Whedon one's shorter.
There's a gun to your head. You have to watch one.
Please let me watch the Joss Whedon one first. Overall, though, I'd say like the construction of it is technically better because I think he made it shorter, which I very much appreciate. I appreciate that so much.
Every movie is 3 hours.
If a 4-hour movie came out and was in theaters and I had to watch it and I was forced to watch it, I'd be so pissed in that theater.
I would not watch this movie in theater.
I would not watch it in theaters if it was 4 hours. But he just threw in a bunch of really, really cringy like jokes and dialogue that like does not fit what the movie clearly was.
Because I feel like a lot of the popular discussion about Joss Whedon has changed a lot in the last 10 years. It's
They found out he raped those women, dude.
regardless,
Like, you know what? Buffy's kind of shitty.
But I'm not even joking. Like that is how the 10 years ago, if you had said that, oh, guess what? In 2020, Joss Whedon is going to be one of those people in Hollywood.
Which I've been calling him a hack for years. Joss Whedon's problem, he has a specific writing style, which a lot of really big filmmakers have, like Aaron Sorkin or the Coen brothers. They have a really specific writing style, but the difference is Aaron Sorkin and the Coen brothers, that writing style, they can shift it just a little bit and it changes the genre completely.
Yeah.
So they can make a bunch of different types of movies in their writing style. So it still feels like something they've made while also being something completely different. Joss Whedon's writing style only fits to one type of thing.
Yeah.
His writing style is so narrow and limited that everything he makes feels exactly the same because that's all he can do.
Yeah, so when you watch the 2017 cut, it's like, I feel like I'm hearing lines of dialogue that are just Joss Whedon lines of dialogue.
Yeah. But when you watch No Country for Old Men or Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, you can tell they're written by the same people.
Different
and they
movies.
use so many of the same tricks, repeating lines over and over again. They use so really, really rural characters who are really like they reuse so many of the same tricks, but it feels completely different.
Yeah,
because they're good at making movies.
Yes. Kevin, what did you think of it?
All right, Kevin was saying he loved this movie. It's his favorite movie.
Not say that.
So I don't know if anybody picked up on, but part of the reason why that Batman scene that was added in Justice League was so bad is because later on in the movie when he shows up on the rooftop when Commissioner Gordon turns on the bat signal or whatever, and there's this whole moment with lightning behind him or whatever. In the actual Snyder Cut, because that scene was no longer in, that's the first time Batman appears in costume. That's why they make a moment out of it, is because he's been like Bruce Wayne the whole time, and now he is. In the Whedon cut, that moment's lost like completely, and it doesn't make any sense. I think it is substantially better, and if I had a gun to my head, I would still choose to watch the Snyder Cut. But it's still not a great film, though, and I do not have any true love or affection for it. And so some people are like, oh my god, like, better than literally every MCU movie or whatever. And I'm like, well, there's like a bottom 4 or 5 MCU movies that I might compare score-wise to Zack Snyder's Justice League, but they're all shorter. So it's like I don't think that's true. I think I'd rather watch.
I think if it was cut down to like maybe 2.5 hours, maybe even 3 hours, I would say
that movie could easily be cut down to like 2.5 hours.
Oh, easily.
So my
oh yeah.
So I felt very negatively about going into it. You guys heard that, but at the same time, I think the movie does things better than the original cut. There are certain character moments that I think make more sense. Particularly
characters make more sense.
Cyborg, yeah, the characters make more sense. There are moments that feel more genuine, like with the original cut. There were moments that were like, there's that classic Aquaman sits on the rope and he calls Wonder Woman sexy scene. Between the two, a lot of moments are handled better. Like, characters are treated with more respect. As scenes are done better, but
it's 4 hours.
The movie experience as a whole, so like the sum, I would argue are actually less than their total, if that makes sense. Where it's like it handles this, that, and that better. Gun to my head. Which one would you rather watch? Joss Whedon cuts only 2.5 hours or whatever.
It's only 2 hours.
It's 2 hours.
It is half the time.
It's half the time, and they're both terrible.
At the end of the day, it's still boring CG character versus these characters I don't care about.
It doesn't solve the big problem we all said in our first review, which is I wanted to walk out of this movie because I know exactly how it's going to end within the first 30 minutes.
Yes.
It's not going to play with my conventions. Infinity War does. Infinity War does not end the way I thought it was going to end.
Not
Justice League, in both cuts, you're just like, oh, they're going to beat the shit out of you.
If you watch our Infinity War, like, I literally went into that movie expecting to hate it.
Just like with Justice League.
The exact same way. Whereas just like, I thought, for fact, I was going to hate this movie. Infinity War does enough to where it changes what I thought it would do. And the characters are interesting. Thanos is an interesting villain.
There isn't countless scenes where you're like, oh my gosh, this is so unimportant.
I wish this would end.
Why are they doing this whole ceremonial arrow shooting thing?
Or the Icelandic people singing for Aquaman for like an hour.
Yeah, what was that?
Characters I didn't think I cared about in Infinity War, I cared about. But when they're like, Ebon Bay, and it's like, yeah, fuck yeah, Ebon Bay, that's epic.
Kill him with your magic.
I didn't even like Black Panther, but this moment feels awesome. And earned. Like, it feels earned. This movie doesn't feel earned.
Yeah, Batman is like constantly going on like, well, we need hope. We can't be pessimistic. We need hope. In the movie just before this, he's beating the shit out of Superman with a sink, and he's like, "I'm gonna fucking kill you!" And then he got taught to have hope because he watched Superman die.
And then Batman's going around like Willy Wonka, being like, "I don't care what happens. I'm not gonna plan anything. Superman's gonna save us." And then the end fight scene happens, and I'm like, "What's Batman doing? Nothing. He does stuff at the beginning.
He's doing the exact same thing in the original cut, where he's just standing around with the gun.
He does some cool stuff at the beginning. He does his whole line where he's like, "Follow me, you damn insects." He's driving around. He does some stuff with his car, and I'm like, okay, Batman's doing something. And then after he gets out of the car, he has nothing to do.
It's the same thing as the original cut.
He's just shooting people. I'm like, that's...
Oh yeah, and then Flash,
Batman
hold on, the ending can be its entire own section.
Okay, cool.
What was the section you wanted to bring up?
Oh, the fact that this movie is absolutely impossible to rewatch.
Yeah.
This movie's impossible to rewatch because this movie's 4 hours long because they add so many junk scenes, just extra. It's just they just added
Remember
more
when
fat.
Martian Manhunter talks to Lois Lane?
Yeah,
and that was like, extremely weird. That was so weird. I deleted it from my brain.
Like rewatching,
I didn't like. I saw it and I remember it being weird, and then I didn't think about it until I saw it in another video that someone brought it up, and I was like, "Oh yeah, what the heck was that?" She had this heart-to-heart moment with Superman's mom. She's like, "Yeah, we really miss Superman." She's like, "Yeah," and then Martian Manhunter walks out, and I was like, "What? Why did they do that?"
Also,
excellent.
Yeah, it would be impossible to rewatch. Like by the second scene with stupid Cyborg's dad in it, I'm like, oh my god, I'm 40 minutes into this movie, and you just have to get through so much because there's the
first 3 hours have more Cyborg's dad than Batman.
The scenes that people like in this movie make up such a small fraction of it that just rewatching it, I would just be I was in agony the first time watching it, but let's say I liked it. If I had to rewatch it, it would be a nightmare. Imagine John Wick Chapter 2.
Yes.
It has all the same stuff as John Wick Chapter 2, the original. But we've added 2 hours of talking.
And not just talking with characters you don't care about.
Yeah.
Not John Wick.
Not John Wick or anything like that. John Leguizamo is talking for 40 minutes in this movie. You would be in agony. You would never watch that movie again. It's like, oh, well, remember when John Wick kills all those people? And it's like, yeah, I had to watch John Leguizamo talk about bullshit nonsense for 40 fucking minutes just to get to that part. And the thing is, Justice League's action scenes aren't as good as Ant-Man and the Wasp. And that movie sucks my ass.
At least Ant-Man and the Wasp has that scene where they turn the salt into big.
The salt is big now. Look at that, it's flying. What else would be big? They're gonna go on the comment section. They're gonna be like, all you guys are doing is comparing DC to Marvel, but you really can't do. If you really think that you can't compare this movie to Marvel movies, you're living in a fucking fantasy land. You have no. You shouldn't watch movies anymore because you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. These movies are products made to compete with each other, and guess what? Justice League is the worst product. That's like saying, oh wait, hold on, you can't compare Pokemon to Digimon. Yeah, I can. They're the same fucking shit.
You can compare your Android phone to your Apple phone?
Yes, they're made to be compared to one another.
They are both phones.
People will say Zack Snyder, because this is true, he did not take any money for this remake of it. And people will be like, it's made for art. He didn't make it for a product. He made it for art. He didn't intend anybody to see it.
Zack Snyder, and I want to make this very clear, seems like a lovely dude. The last couple
Something
days...
we've always said about Zack Snyder is that a lot of people give him crap, and we give him a lot of crap, and he makes a lot of mediocre movies and bad movies, but I would not say he's a bad director.
No, well, and visually, like, the way he constructs visual scenes is awesome. He's kind of like a...
Sometimes he does it a little too much. Sometimes you're like, oh my gosh, he's hitting me so hard with this one.
He's kind of like Michael Bay in the sense that it's easy to shit on him, but like Michael Bay is still an awesome visual director. It's very awesome feeling. Like you see it and there's explosions and he knows how to make the camera move.
He knows how to make the audience feel what they're supposed to feel.
Yeah. Everything you hear about him, like other people talking about him, is he's just a complete peach to be around.
He loves movies and he loves Batman and Superman.
He's not a bad director. I would say he's a bad writer. He's very, very definitely...
I'd say he's way up his own ass for some stuff.
Yes.
Like, there's a bunch of stuff, even Watchmen, a movie I like, where I was like, I get it, move on. I get it. You don't have to keep showing the slow-mo stuff to me. I get it, move on.
He loves his own style way too much. Where it's just like slow-mo and pop music. This cut, I don't remember if the 2017 cut had a whole bunch of pop music, but the Snyder cut had way too much. Cyborg is the character that's given the most development in this cut.
He was completely butchered and cut out in the film.
I think if you were comparing the two cuts, it is completely fair to say Cyborg is great in this cut compared to the 2017 cut because he has. I would even argue that Cyborg should have been the main character of this movie.
But compared to any other movie on the planet, he's a terrible, shitty character.
Yes, that is completely true. Cyborg should have been the character that we started the movie with.
He should have been human at the start.
Yes.
Then we should have seen his accident.
Yes. Either that or Cyborg should have had his own movie. I think a problem with Cyborg's storyline in this movie is that they tried introducing him but also giving him his whole own backstory.
Oh yeah, I remember there was a moment, I don't remember exactly what it was, and I turned to Brian and I was like, this scene would be totally fine if it was in a Cyborg movie.
Like, I wanted to like him, but the movie is fighting my desire to like him based off of his story because he's so uncharismatic and unlikable. And
his
make
background and his arc and everything is great.
There's a way to make depressing, gloomy people endearing characters. Eeyore, Winnie the Pooh. He's an endearing character. People like Eeyore.
But it's also like part of what makes that interesting is contrast. Like
his friends are. Oh well, I'm cheerful and happy, and I fucks with Eeyore anyway. His struggles are my struggles.
Yeah,
I'm gonna help him out
because Winnie the Pooh is overly positive.
Yes, and so that's where most of the humor comes from. Is Winnie the Pooh or any of those other characters say something really positive?
And shout out to Christopher Robin.
Shout out to Christopher Robin. Great movie. I haven't seen it. I know for a fact it's better than this movie. One of them says something overly optimistic, and then Eeyore kind of like brings him back to reality, or the opposite, where Eeyore starts in a negative place.
Is a lie.
And then or the opposite, Eeyore starts in a negative place, and then they bring him up. Yeah. In this movie,
I wish I was dead.
He's like, oh god, we're all gonna fucking die, and Aquaman's like, yeah, we sure are. Life sucks dick. I hate being Aquaman.
I think we're gonna die as well, says Wonder Woman. And then Batman's like, guys, Superman will show up. Don't worry. He's gonna save us. I swear.
He is way better in this movie compared to the 2017 cut. He's still just a character that I feel nothing for. At the end of the day, like his arc, when the movie was at its climax, and he's pulling apart the cubes, and he has that moment where he's like, oh, come visit us in hell or whatever. And he was like, no, I like being alive. Like, I didn't care about that moment, because if that character just died in an explosion in that moment, I wouldn't
they all
care.
do.
Which segues into the ending.
They all do.
I was going to talk about Flash real fast in regards to the ending. Flash, he has that part where he goes back in time, which we mentioned in our first review. He gets shot and then he's just fine later.
Yeah.
And you were like, they probably could have seen where Batman's like, here's some bat goo. We find out in this cut that his gunshot wound gets healed because he goes back in time.
Yeah.
And he has this really, 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 really overly dramatic moment where he's like talking to his dad and how much he loves his dad and how it's great.
I'm doing what's best for humanity, Dad.
For you,
I'm doing
Dad.
it for you. I love you.
And that scene means nothing because they had one scene establishing that in the movie, and that scene that establishes his relation with his dad
3
is
hours ago.
3 hours previous to that scene. Again, I'm going to compare it to Marvel. In Infinity War and Endgame, when they have these like moments where these characters are like when Hawkeye and Black Widow are deciding who's gonna die. You have so much character moments between those two characters. You have so many scenes with them previously that when that moment happens, you're like, oh, I don't want either of these characters to die. Flash is just announcing something that they established in this movie.
So in the ending, so basically the villains win for a second. An explosion happens, and for a second, a literal second, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Cyborg, Aquaman die in an explosion. And then the Flash realizes that it's happening, and he enters, he uses Brain Blast or whatever, and he's like, I have to run faster than the speed of light to make time go backwards to make this not happen. And it felt to me like if you've ever played a turn-based strategy game, and you realize that like you made a bad move,
you load your quick save.
You load your quick save, and it just undid everything. And it was so lame to me because for a second I thought they might do something cool, And then the Flash is just undoing everything, and I was like, oh wait, but he's gonna undo it, and it's gonna provide challenges for them in the climax. And then it was like, oh no, he just undoes it and it goes perfectly. It's like literally save Scumming, and then you just know what shots to take, and you get them.
He just reversed it, and then Superman just was like, just
and it felt so cheap to me for a brief second, because I know a lot of people probably like that moment and think that it's awesome. Visually, it's very cool looking, with Flash like running back and like the ground reshaping as he runs. It's visually cool looking. But as far as a story moment, it felt so fucking stupid.
But in Infinity War, when they kill half the universe and the bad guy wins, you have to wait a whole year in real life and then watch an entire new movie of them trying to just fix all of that.
It happens so fast that it makes me not care about any of it. It's like, why did that even happen then? If Flash was just gonna go back in time and make it obsolete, then why even include it?
So he can have a dramatic scene. Why does anything happen? Fuck.
Kevin, why is Superman's outfit black?
Oh yeah, I really need to know this, Kevin. I know you're the only one.
I know you know this.
Well, I've done a lot of research into it, like comic book wise and like behind the scenes wise, and ultimately, it was a choice between Zack Snyder and the costume people because it looked cool. So I think that's ultimately what they did.
Sam Slade, do you have any final thoughts? What did you think of Justice League?
I hated this movie. It was way too long. However, so the ending is super long and terrible, but then they cut to this random scene that's a dream sequence that I was so enthralled by it because it was so bonkers, and they kept talking about crazy stuff that didn't happen that I wish I was watching the movie for that. When they showed the Joker scene where like they're all in the desert and they're like all like in
just watching that movie.
Yeah, Aquaman's fucking dead.
Yeah, they're like Aquaman's dead.
Lois Lane's dead. Superman's a bad guy.
Superman's killing everybody. I'm gonna kill, and then Batman's like, I'll fucking kill you, Joker. And then,
when Batman said, I'll fucking kill you, that was the coolest thing that's ever happened.
I was like, why am I not watching this? This movie looks sweet. What? This, because I was sitting there, not that the scene was amazing, but I was like, oh, this is a different take on all of this. I wish I was watching this instead of the same stuff I've seen with Superman, the same stuff I've seen with Batman.
Yeah.
Instead, this is just, oh, Superman's evil, he destroyed the world, and all these people are like, oh, I wish Aquaman wasn't dead.
He sided with Darkseid.
Yeah.
Well, imagine Justice League hasn't come. There isn't two versions of Justice League. There's one version of Justice League. It's not coming out, or it's not out yet. It comes out in a month. You read the synopsis on Wikipedia. Would you rather watch synopsis on Wikipedia? Oh, Darkseid sends a boring asshole to Earth to go get a couple cubes, and then they got to bring back Superman. Superman comes back and he kicks that guy's ass, and nothing happens. Or, oh, Justice League comes out next month. Oh, what's it about? So Superman's a bad guy. Aquaman's fucking dead.
The Justice League revives Superman. He's evil now, and he kills a bunch of people.
And then he kills a bunch of people. They have to get the Joker because Aquaman is dead. Aquaman's boring girlfriend is there, and she's like, I'm gonna fucking kill everybody. The Flash has a weird helmet, and they're in the desert, and Batman says fuck in it. You'd be like, that sounds badass. Why would we why make the first one?
So I've seen a lot of people complain about the last 30 minutes or so because it has the Return of the King.
Yeah, it is way too much of that.
One thing I did like, and Kevin and I talked a lot about this after we watched it. Like, I wish things were moved around. I like the concept of in a movie, like earlier on, you get the setup of, oh, this is Deathstroke, and he's trying to hunt the Batman. You get that setup hours before possible. Some other point you get this dream setup, or vice versa. Maybe you get a dream setup where Deathstroke is friends with Batman, and then at the end you get an after credit scene where Deathstroke is trying to hunt Batman. I like that setup of like, oh, you get a character that's trying to kill another character, but then you like undercut that with
he's eventually gonna
like I liked that, but it ruins it by having them back to back, like literal scenes that happen like with seconds from each other. And you're just like, oh, all right, so I guess that scene that I just watched with Deathstroke doesn't matter at all because at the end of the day, they're probably going to end up being friends or whatever.
And then my problem with that end sequence is like, yeah, it's setting up a more interesting movie. That people were talking up that Joker and Batman interaction. They're like, oh my god, it's so amazing, so powerful, so great.
Really?
So great.
Are people saying that's
yeah.
good?
Oh, they love it. They're saying it's the best Batman.
Wait,
Joker
hold
interaction
on.
ever.
I have something to tell those people. That was a bad scene.
Oh yeah, Jared Leto is still terrible as a Joker, and I was telling Sam Slade the best way I can describe it. We've mentioned our community college experiences many times.
Yes,
and usually it's in reference to writing or directing, but my community college experience was with acting, and I told Sam Slade what Jared Leto's decisions are for Joker as an actor are community college level decisions. I've seen Dark Knight scenes where people have tried to play that Joker in community college a billion times, and they all make the same decisions that Jared Leto does. They all do the same lazy crap where I'm just like, this is junk. This is chimp level logic. Like, well, my Joker will do this, and it's garbage. He's garbage. There's no. When we mentioned Joaquin Phoenix in our Joker review, we mentioned that he's like, oh, well, he does something completely different where he makes them the victim in almost every single scene. Yeah. Jared Leto, in that scene, he thinks he's in charge the whole time. He's like, I'm in charge, I know everything. Even though when I'm watching it, I'm like, yeah, Batman can't fucking kill you whenever he wants. He can just go, and then that'd be it. And this version of the Joker, it's like, why are they with the Joker? Nothing we've seen of Jared Leto's Joker. He's just a guy.
It has if it was Joaquin Phoenix's Joker.
That would have been awesome. Yeah, it gave me flashbacks to Suicide Squad, where
he's in that.
I didn't. Not even that. I guess it would give me flashbacks, but no more so of like you had that question of like, why is Harley Quinn here? Like she has a baseball bat, I guess, but like why was she asked to be part of this team?
Yeah, Superman is killing people. We are way past your power
well,
level.
I can't conceivably think of a reason why they'd have him. I'm also like, well, why is he there? Does he did he swallow a key or something? Like, why is he there?
They're waiting for him to shit it out.
Yeah. I don't shit, Batman.
In the end, with everything that happened, like one of my biggest takeaways was that every time I would compliment something, like I had to like insult it also, because every time I got something good, there was something else that I was like, oh, I still don't like that. Like it's like, oh, Steppenwolf has like a more clear like focus on what he's trying to do. It's like, yeah, no, that's true. But it's like, hold on, the mother box thing doesn't make any fucking sense at all. It's like they waited 6 billion years or whatever since the dawn of man or whatever when they attacked, and then they're like, oh, there was no Kryptonian for 6,000 years, and then on top of that, when they find out, oh, this is where the anti-life equation is or whatever, and I'm just like, did Darkseid forget what planet he left it on? Are you serious? He actually forgot?
You have to write it down, dude. He forgot. There's a lot of planets out there.
He has to throw a fucking axe in his chest.
Yeah, other planets he had checked was Yarth, Barth,
Larth. It for sure ended with the TH. There's a ton of water on it too.
All those Larthians died for nothing, dude.
And then it's like there's so much stuff like that. And then by the end of the movie, it was just like, it wasn't the offensive, confusing movie that Justice League was, but it was a boring, colorless, black, like a usual Zack Snyder movie. Like, you know what I mean? It wasn't a bad movie in the way Justice League was. It was just a regular old bad Zack Snyder movie.
So Steppenwolf in the original, he's just kind of boring, but they clearly spent more money on his animation than, because I think, you know, we talked about they had 70 million. 70 million is not a lot for CG and a lot of the stuff that they had to recreate for this cut. So there are a lot of points.
20 armor, dude.
There's a lot of points in the movie where you can feel that budget kind of straining. And one of those is with Steppenwolf. He has this kind of like I want to say uncanny valley, but he has this uncanny way of like when he talks, his mouth isn't always there with the rest of his face, and like the actual motion capture is not 100% And it was the funniest thing in the goddamn world to me. I laughed every single time. I could just watch clips of Steppenwolf talking on loop, dude. Like, I thought it was fucking hilarious. If you watched our original Justice League video, we started off by saying, Brian specifically says that he would have walked out of the theater. I felt very similarly, and if we're going to compare two versions of the movie, I would not have finished it if it wasn't for doing this video. I wanted to walk out of it, so if I had to compare the two directly, it did not solve that problem to me. I did not want to finish it. It did not hold my interest. Sam Slade Space Eggs.
Well, just because there's so much in there, it's just adding space egg after space egg as it's going, because it's just like the amount of content that's there.
The movie is good because there's more of it.
So yeah, and it caps out at 12, and it got way more than 12 throughout.
But you can't give it 12.
You can't get, so I would have to give it a 12 out of 12 space eggs.
Yeah, you can't give it more than 12.
There's just so many space eggs earned in that movie.
Kevin, you go next. How many space eggs?
Well, I mean, I get what Sam Slade means. I mean, because if you were to judge each hour of the movie, I would give it 3 space eggs, and that's about 4 hours. So if you add them all up, it is 12. So that being said, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10.
Brian.
Alec, how many space eggs do you get?
This movie sucked ass. I'm not doing a bit. I'm gonna give it a 0 out of 12. Brian, space eggs.
I thought this movie was like a nightmare.
Oh yeah, it's terrible.
It challenged my ability to watch it. Mm-hmm. It was every character is terrible. All of them are boring, miserable assholes. And I genuinely hated every second of it. It is worse than Joss Whedon's version simply because it is 2 hours more of my life that it wastes with Cyborg's dad. How many is it out of?
Well, usually we do out of 12.
Yeah. It is out of 12 every time, and including this time.
I'm sorry, dude. This movie was too terrible. I can't do it. I gotta give it a 12 out of 12.
Boom! It's a positive score.
12, 8, 0.
Everybody go see it. It's playing at your computer right now in 4x3 aspect ratio.
I don't know how long it's gonna be there, but it's gonna be there.
It's gonna be there
for at least
go see the black and white version that they're allegedly making.
And Kevin,
no, it came out today, dude.
There's a black and white version. We gotta watch it again.
Oh, now even more boring.
Watch it again. It's probably different.
It's in noir now. It's noir now. It's not
that makes it good.
Kevin, I'm sorry you're still spooky. We will take you to a doctor soon.
Come back next week when we finally do much waited for video. Uncle Mikki reviews a 5-hour video of a bird sitting on an egg.
Oh yeah, that's still gonna drop.
Long?
That's still
it's 5 hours long.
Well, the bird we did 3 hours, but the egg didn't hatch.
You guys think it'll hatch in the next couple hours?
I hope so. We can't drop the video
for like a whole week or something, aren't they?
We can't drop the video until it hatches.
Listen, either way, I'm either eating an egg or I'm eating a baby chicken.
Whoa. So I want to take a second to thank our sponsor, Nobody. Do you have a company that does a lot of online marketing using YouTubers and other shills to try to push your products? Well, just come to us. We'll do it for very cheap. Do you try to sell website building websites, audiobooks, or headphones? Look at how cool Brian looks wearing those headphones. I don't know about you, but I really love high quality audio in wireless earbuds that you can get for a decent price. Just email UncleMikkiProductions@gmail.com for any business inquiries. We'd be happy to help promote your product on our page to over 700 subscribers. 700 eyeballs that sometimes watch some of our videos. Email unclemickeyproductions@gmail.com for any business inquiries.